All right. What's good, everybody? This is your brother, your homie, your friend, Frank, coming to you live and direct with another edition of Views from the Man Cave. Um, I'm going to try my best to be very brief tonight, but I'm just going to chop it up with the fam. We're going to talk about a few things. You know what I mean? We're going to catch up and talk about a few issues that are going on in our community. Um, and then we're going to talk about, and then we'll get right to the topic um, of the evening. So um, I just want to check the pulse of everybody. I want to see, I want to make sure everybody's good. Um, I hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's safe. You know, I know there are a lot of things going on in the community with the protesting. We're still in a pandemic as well. So, still make sure that you you're washing your hands, you're wearing your mask, and you're being cognizant of what's going on because we're still in a pandemic. So there are a lot of things going on. So just still, be mindful of that. Be smart, be logical, and be strategic. Good evening, Queen of the South. Thank you for stopping by. So let me see who we got in here. Michelle, good evening. Santina, good evening. Miss Janelle Santos, good evening. Um, so we'll get right into it for a few. I just wanted to touch on a few things that are going on right now, and then we'll get right into the topic. We'll talk about chess, the art of chess, um, and how you can apply it to your life. So we'll get right into it. So at first, I want to start off by saying that so one of the things that's going on right now is in Minnesota, the the other three cops, the other three police officers, um, have been they've been arrested, they've been charged. So that's a very important piece to the puzzle. A lot of us were waiting on that. We didn't just want to sit on one officer, the officer who was who's on the neck of the brother and kill that brother. We didn't just want him to be arrested. Um, so we had everybody, everybody was rallying around, protesting, trying to get those other cops charged as well. So now all four of those police officers have been charged, and they have heightened the charges. At first, it was I think third-degree murder. Now they've increased it to second-degree murder. So that's a great thing. Um, Now at the same time, we don't want to get too happy. Obviously, we've seen this before. We've seen police officers get arrested, and we kind of we got happy about that. We took our foot off the gas, only to be disappointed later on when these police officers were acquitted. So this is still only the beginning. You know what I mean? It's a good step. It's a great step, actually. But at the same time, we're not going to get too high about it. We're not going to get too happy about it because there's a long road ahead. And so, but I am glad that these men, were all arrested and all charged. So also, let me see what we got right here. So some other things. So right now in the news, I'm not sure if people have heard, but the rapper Trina is facing a lot of backlash right now. She made some very disparaging and disrespectful comments on an interview that she did with Trick Daddy. And if you don't know who Trina is, she's from Miami, Florida. She's from the Miami-Dade area. She came into prominence somewhat in the hip hop scene. In the I can't remember if it was like early 2000s or late. Yeah, it was probably early 2000s. But um, she was she had a run. You know what I mean? Like some rappers do from time to time. And so she was on a she was on an interview with Trick Daddy, who kind of introduced her to the world through his record label, Slip and Slide Records, out of Miami. And so they were doing an interview, and she made some very very disparaging remarks about the protesters. And she called her brothers and sisters out there animals. You know what I mean? Who escaped from a zoo. So she's been getting dragged religiously on social media. People are canceling her and whatnot. Um, honestly, Trina, as far as her rap career, she's been canceled. You know what I mean? She's really not doing anything. But this points to and alludes to us as Black people having a code of conduct. You know what I mean? We all may not necessarily agree with some of the things that we're seeing out there. You know what I mean? But at the same time, if you don't really have anything positive to say about what's going on right now, the best move for you to make is just to be quiet. You know what I mean? There's power in being quiet, you know what I'm saying, and not saying anything. You know what I mean? So um, let these brothers and sisters protest. Their cause is righteous. It is our cause. Um, we're all fighting for something. We're fighting for freedom, justice, and equality. And if you don't like the methods um, that people are taking in order to get that, then you need to be quiet. You know what I mean? You can use your platform for other things, um, but at the same time, you don't want to. This is a bad look. You know what I mean? All the way around, it's a bad look. So you just want to make sure that, like I said before, if you don't really have anything positive to say about the movement, about what you see, about what's going on right now, um, I'll just advise you to fall back because you run the risk of, of damaging your reputation and your brand. Um, there are businesses out right now who have publicly come out and endorsed Donald Trump. Um, a few of them, I think Wendy's is one. I think Chick-fil-A is one. Um, I think Pizza Hut is one. And so they're getting dragged as well. You know what I mean? People are talking about shutting them down. Now, those aren't really a lot of places that most of us frequent anyway, outside of maybe Chick-fil-A. But, there comes a time when, folks have to take a stand, man. You know what I mean? If you're not going to, um, if you're not going to support our cause and support what we're trying to do, we have to get to a point where we're willing and able and capable of shutting you down. You know what I mean? And that's what's going to happen to those companies. They're going to take a hit. And I just want to tell the people um, who are down for the struggle, who are protesting, who are using their platforms to speak against injustice and inequality and institutional racism. You know what I mean? To hold these people accountable and keep doing what you're doing because people are listening. There are protests all over the world. I've seen protests all over Europe. So, so people are watching and they're watching us to see how we move. And the hope has always been, and the hope is that, this is just going to be another emotional response and we're just going to fall back. We're going to be mad for a minute. We're going to be emotional. We're going to cry. We're going to march. We're going to pray. We're going to tear some stuff up. And then after a long weekend or, a week or so, we're going to go back to normal. So continue to put, we have to continue to put our foot on these people's necks. You know what I mean? We can't let up. We can't let them say slick things and do slick things and get away with it. So, shout out to all the people who are using their platforms and who have put this out and who are checking all these people who have these disparaging remarks about the brothers and sisters out there, who are protesting and who are putting in work. So there's one more thing I wanted to kind of share with the fam. So um, I'm kind of closer to this situation than most. I live in the DC area. Um, I am a law enforcement. I am a federal law enforcement officer. So I kind of had a little bit more information on this situation, more so than other people. Um, but I just want to talk to the ladies for a minute. I'm a big fan of Nicole Michelle, and you guys know that. If you know anything about me and this channel, I support her. I support what she does, as it relates to teaching women about being feminine and owning that and manifesting that in their lives, and in the company of those who they're around, who they love. And so, um, this was brought to my attention, and I kind of looked into it on my own. But ladies, I just want you to know that vetting is very important. And in this case here, this man he was in a relationship with this sister. They're both from this area, from the DMV. They lived in DC. They met in high school. They grew up together in Oxon Hill, Maryland, which is right outside of DC in Prince George's County. And and so, if you read the article, she she's a very popular YouTuber, by the way. She supports being natural and natural hair and all those good things. On top of, I think she was a teacher as well. But so if you read the article, you'll find out that she was with this brother, and they were in a relationship. It was kind of rocky for a while, and she broke up with him, and then after a few years, they got back together, and they got back together about a month ago. And within a month of them getting back together, this happened. He murdered her. They got into an argument. She asked him to leave. He wouldn't leave. They got into, um, it turned physical, and this sister ended up dying. And he was arrested. He went to court in D.C. Superior Court here. I'm very familiar with D.C. Superior Court. I work out of that building. I'm in that building often, and so he was arraigned and charged with murder, and he was held without bond. So, ladies, it's very important that you vet properly, and when you see signs of certain things, when you see signs of a brother being a little bit too aggressive, you know, um, be mindful of that. It's not cute. You know what I mean? It's not cute. It doesn't mean that he loves you, that he wants to protect you. You know what I mean? There's a good side um, and a bad side to stuff like that. So be mindful of that. Vet, man. Vet like your life depends on it. Because in this sister's situation, it did, and it literally cost her life. So my prayers go out to her and her family. You know what I mean? And I hope justice is served here. Let me shout out a few other people that came in. My man Gabe, Ultimate Black Man Radio was good. Um, Thanks for coming through. My wife is in the building, baby. I love you. Thank you for coming through. Showing your man love. Um, the Money Woman. Shout out to you. It's been a minute. I know you do great things over at your channel, so I'm glad you could stop by. Um, Thank you for pulling up. My man C Boog. Dom Game Division was good, bro. We definitely gonna do something. I know we've been kind of busy. I know you put out content, man, like crazy, man. I listen to all of it. You know what I mean? Um, and so I know we definitely gonna do something in the future. And then that's the good thing about manhood too, man. I don't care where you are in your life, man. Um, I don't care where you are in your life as a man. You know what I mean? You can learn a lot, man. You know what I mean? There's so much information out there. You know what I mean? It's so much like we live in the Aquarian age, man. This is the information age. So there are a lot of good brothers out there who putting in work, man. C Book is one of them. And I listen to this brother religiously, man. Every time he's on, you know what I mean? If I got time, I'm logging in, I'm in the chat, I'm saying what's good, you know what I mean? I'm showing that brother love and support, man. So we need that, man. This brother right here, C Boog, is a real one. You know what I mean? Ultimate Black Man Radio as well. You know how we do it. Um, so so I'm gonna get into our topic tonight. Like I said, I'm not gonna be before you guys long. I'm gonna try my best not to anyway. I'm shooting for about an hour, but but we'll see. So I want to talk to the fam about the game of chess. Chess, man. Um, it's a very powerful game. You know what I mean? I've been playing it my whole life, pretty much since I was a kid. Um, I didn't really have the greatest relationship with my father. You know what I mean? My father and I were not close at all. I'm 30. I'm 38 years old. I can probably count on one hand with a finger or two left over. As far as I can count how many times I've actually seen my father. And those times that I saw him, you know what I mean, I reached out to him. I will pull up at his house and I will call him for the most part. So my father and I are not really close at all. But one of the things that we did share growing up was a love for chess. One of the things that he did teach me, and we would talk about from time to time, was the game of chess. So when I would pull up on him, I would go over there, and we would usually play a game of chess. And so over the course of my life, you know what I mean, I developed a love and a appreciation for the game, um, primarily because I wanted a closer relationship with my father. And I thought the better chess player I became, the better I would look in his eyes and the more he would want to see me. You know what I mean? To be quite honest. So, but over time, I really developed a love and an appreciation and a respect for the game of chess. You know what I mean? It alludes to a lot of things, man. It alludes to power. It alludes to strategy. Like my man Tony Maceo, his channel Power and Strategy. Um, it alludes to being strategic. You know what I mean? To being logical. So it taught me a lot about life. Um, like I said, I've been playing it my entire life. I had a chance to go to Africa. I went to Ghana um, a while back, and I bought a really nice chess set over there. It was made out of ivory, and so I gotta find it. I know I got it in the box somewhere, um, but it was really dope. Like it was so dope, I didn't even want to play on it. I didn't even want to play with it. It was that nice. So yeah, so I've always had a love and a respect for the game of chess. Um, and so and actually, it's funny because my wife, when I met her, and we were courting. I was courting her, and she kind of she told me that she played chess, and she was in the chess club at high school. I mean, she went to a school that was very she went to what we would call like one of those smart kid schools. You know what I mean? Um, so she played chess as well. Um, so we're just gonna get into that, man. Chess has been around since I would say at least the sixth century, even farther back than that. Um, it has its origins in Africa. It has its origins as well. The Moors played chess, and the Moors brought the game of chess to Spain. Um, you know, when they conquered Spain in I think it was 710 or 711 AD. Among all of the numerous things they brought to Spain, as far to civilize them, they brought the game of chess with them as well. It was played all throughout Asia, um, Persia. You know what I mean? It's a very popular game. Obviously, they didn't call it chess, and they didn't, have the pieces named the way that we name them now. But chess has been around for a long time. It is the most popular sport, um, really on the planet. I mean, really on the planet. Over 600 million people play the game of chess. You know what I mean? Consistently, whether they have a board, whether they play online. Um, you know what I mean? People play it. It's a very popular game, and and when you play chess, it said that people who play chess consistently, they have certain qualities. They're it's understood and it's been studied that chess players are more informed. Um, they read more. They read 5 times more than the average person. What they read is different. They read the New York Times. They read the Wall Street Journal. They read the Economist. They read the New Yorker. Um, they it has low barriers for entry. You don't really have to be of a high socioeconomic class to play. But in the United States, over 78% of regular chess players are university graduates and live in households with incomes over $120,000 a year. So it's a very powerful game. It's a very intellectual game. Um, so a lot of people who play the game are affluent. You know what I mean? They have a lot of money. They dress nice. They travel. They do a lot of different things. So um, it's a very popular game, and the power in it is that you don't have to come from a place of prestige or popularity to be able to play. You know what I mean? I usually play more so online now than I do on my board. Um, so we're gonna get into the game. We're gonna break. Um, Let me see. We're gonna break the pieces down. We're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna talk about how you know you can use chess in your daily life. Um, like I said, it was played centuries ago. China, India, Persia. Um, no one really knows exactly where it came from, what country started it. Like I said, a lot of Arabs, Moors, Persians, they played it, expanded it all across their empires and different countries and places that they conquered and took over. Um, so, so we'll start with the pawn. Now, the pawn. Now, let me say this. So the whole board symbolizes, basically it symbolizes medieval Europe. Um, and it tells a story. It's basically a battle between two kingdoms in medieval times in medieval Europe. So we'll start with the pawns. Now the pawns. Um, let me see. Let me start moving through these chats. See, do that. Yeah, a smart school. Benjamin Banneker School, in Washington D.C., uptown, right across the street from Howard University. That's where you went because you went to the smart school. All right. Um, so we'll start with the pawns. Now, the pawns on the chessboard, they represent your commoners. They represent the laborers. They represent the serfs. Um, they're more pawns than any other piece on the board. You know what I mean? Um, they're the ones who do the majority of the sacrificing. They're the ones who do the majority of the work. In medieval Europe, like I said, the serfs, the laborers, the common people, they didn't really have any power. They didn't have any power at all. So they were at the disposal of the kingdom. You know what I mean? So a lot of them would fight wars, um, and you know what I mean, with just to survive, just to have some land, just to have um, somewhere to belong. So the pawns are more so on the chessboard when you're playing the game. These are the ones that you want to or that you tend to sacrifice the most. Um, they only move in one position. They only move forward. Um, when you first start the game of chess, the first time the pawn moves, it can move twice. It can move two spots forward. So it can only advance forward for the two spots in the beginning when you first move it, and it can you can and it after that it'll only move one spot forward. In order for it to take a piece on the board, um, it takes pieces diagonally. So if there's a piece right in front of the pawn cannot take that piece off of the board. It has to be diagonal, one spot diagonal to its front left or front right diagonally in order for the pawn to be able to take it off the board. Um, so these common people, they work hard, they died young. They were often left unprotected while wars raged around them. They could be traded. They could be used as a diversion. They could be sacrificed to allow landowners and wealthy people to escape harm. And that's pretty much how they're played on the board. You know what I mean? Pawns are sacrificed. You know what I mean? If you're playing a game, if it's one piece if you had to lose a piece, that one piece would be the pawn. There are more pieces of them than any other piece on the board. And if you're fortunate enough when you're playing chess to advance your pawn all the way to the end of your opponent's board, to their last line of defense on the board, then you can trade your that pawn in for another piece, any piece, the queen, rook, bishop, knight. We're gonna get into all those pieces, but so the pawn does have a place to play. A pawn used in the right way, form, and fashion could net you a checkmate. You know what I mean? So even though pawns are probably are definitely, excuse me, the least respected piece on the board, they have a place, they have a purpose, and if used strategically and logically, they can do a lot of damage on a chessboard. So Don't count out the pawns. So next we're going to go to the rook, or another name for the rook is um, the castle piece on the chessboard. Um, the rook represents home. It represents security. It represents refuge. When you look on the chessboard and when you first set the chessboard up and you start playing, you'll notice that the rooks are on the corners or at the end of the back line. Your first line is all pawns. Matter of fact, let me see if I can get a chessboard, so I can show people what I'm talking about. So when you're looking at the chessboard, let me show you right here. Matter of fact, let me do it like this. So when you're looking on the chessboard, the rook is the last piece on the board. It's on the last row and it's on the ends. It represents security. It represents protection. Um, when you look at a kingdom, or when you look at a castle, you'll see, those towers, those strong, those big, tall towers. So if you look here, like if you follow my mouse here, well, you might not be able to see it, but if you look on the board on the far right, the rook is on the back row, um, behind the first row of pawns. It's on each end. So, like I said, it represents security, refuge. It's a protection. It's a barrier. So, um, and each person playing has two rooks. They move straight. So they move straight on the board. They can move all the way. There's no limit to their movement, but they only move straight. So they can move left or right. They can move front or back. So they're a very powerful piece on the board. Um, but it represents the outer kingdom. It represents the actual fortress. Um, so that's the role that the rook plays. So next we're gonna go to the knight. So the knight um, is the one with the pointed head. So the knight on the chessboard represents professional soldiers of medieval times, whose job was to protect persons of rank, prestige, and power. And there are two of them on each, and there are two of them on the board for each person. Each person has two knights. Um, Knights in the chess game, they're more important than pawns, but they're less important than the other pieces, the bishops, the kings, and the queens. Excuse me, the knight is represented by the horse. Excuse me, the knight has the horse top. So the knight, like I said, it represents the professional soldier. So these are the people that guard and protect the inner kingdom. So the pawns, metaphorically and symbolically, they protect the outer part of the kingdom. They protect enemies from coming in. Once they get in, the next line of defense or the next wave of defense would be the knights, and they're symbolized with the horse because a lot of knights back then historically were people of prominence and power, and they rode horseback. So that's the role that they play on the board. The knights move in an L shape. Okay, so they move differently than any other piece on the board. They move in an L shape, up um, to the left once or to the right once. They can move back to the left once, to the right once. So they move in an L shape, and that kind of symbolizes the movement of knights um, um, in battle. Um, and all of these pieces are, I'm going in order of the least important to the most important on the board, and I'm going in order of the pieces that are probably sacrificed the most to obviously the pieces that are sacrificed the least. So outside of the pawn, you'll get to the knight. Next, we have the bishop. The bishop in the game of chess represents the church. The church is more is the most is very big and is very prominent. The king and queen, they govern, and they're usually governed by religion. They usually have a religious or a spiritual belief that governs the people, that lines the people up. So the bishop is the pointy piece on the board on the back row, and it represents the church. The church was a very powerful and mighty force in medieval times. Religion played a huge part in every person's life. It represents so it just makes sense that the concept of religion was put into the game. If you look at any government, any country, any kingdom or empire, religion or some type of spiritual belief was very prominent there, and it helped the king and queen and the ruling class or body to govern the people. Also, in medieval Europe, in ancient times, if there was no king or queen, the bishop would take over as leadership, as the authoritative figure in the kingdom. So there's nothing more powerful than the church. Um, the only thing higher than the church is basically is the king and the queen. So, and the bishop moves in a diagonal fashion. So it moves diagonally. So it's a very powerful piece. It's right next to they flank the king and the queen on each side. So they're very important to the ruling class as far as governing the empire and keeping them in line. So the next piece we're going to talk about is the queen. Now the queen is a very powerful piece. The queen is the most powerful piece in chess. She's the most powerful piece on the board. The king obviously is the most important, but the queen is the most powerful, if that makes sense. The queen is the only piece on the board during the chess game that represents the feminine, a woman. And like I said, she's the most powerful piece on the board. Um, each player has one queen. The queen in ancient times, queens had a very powerful and prominent role in the kingdom. They often gave the king advice and they guided him. Um, Queens move all over the court. I mean, all over the board, as in life. You know what I mean? When you look at your household, when you look at the feminine principle, it's very powerful. You know what I mean? She moves everywhere. Just to speak personally, in my household, my wife is all over the place. She's at home. She's getting groceries. She's picking up stuff from the cleaners. She's doing all of these things. She's moving all over the place. You know what I mean? Um, and she's very integral to the household. I always tell her that she's the heartbeat of the household. I'm more so the mindset and the mentality of the house, but she's the heart. You know what I mean? She's the energy of the household. So the queen is a very powerful piece on the board, no doubt about it. She moves all over the place. And her primary function is to advise and to protect her king at all costs. Um, so, and finally, we'll get to the king. The king is the tallest piece on the board, and is well defended. Um, the game is over when the king is captured. Um, and historically speaking, kingdoms fall when the king surrenders. You know what I mean? Um, you see that in wartime. You know what I mean? Wars aren't over until the king or the elite or the leaders of that country surrender. They wave the white flag. They sign, you know, um, you know, a documentation or paperwork signifying their surrender. So the game is not over until the king is conquered. Um, like I said, and because of that, he's the most important piece on the board. The king can move one position in any direction, forward, diagonal, to the side, um, to the back. It can only move one spot. Um, so everybody's responsibility on the board is to keep the king safe. Is to keep him protected, so that he can govern. It doesn't matter if it's the pawn, the rook, the knight, the bishop, the queen. Everybody's responsibility on the board is to assist the king in his rulership and his vision, um, as his life. So that's all the pieces on the board. I hope I gave you guys a good understanding of those pieces and how they move and how they operate and how they are represented historically. So finally, we're going to talk about lessons that you learn from chess. Like I said, chess is a very prominent game. Some of the best and most prominent people in this world play chess. A lot of military strategists play chess um, because it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about yourself. It helps to improve you and your critical thinking. So chess teaches you to always move with a purpose. In your life, you want to always move with a purpose. You don't want to effortlessly just move around with no purpose, no passion, no form of discipline. So when you start the game, you understand that you have a strategy in mind. You understand how you want to attack your opponent. And so once you develop a strategy for how to attack your opponent, every move that you make on the board follows suit. Every move that you make on the board has that purpose in mind. So you have a plan and you follow that plan by how you move your pieces on the board. So um, you have to do things with a purpose in life. I don't care what it is. If you decide that you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, whatever you want to be, you want to make sure that all of your moves um, leading up to that are guided by that purpose, are guided by that passion or that goal. So you don't want to do anything that would take you away from achieving the goal that you set for yourself. You know what I mean? Um, so regardless of what you want to do in life, you know what I mean? If you want to be a great man, if you want to be a great husband, you want to be a great father, all of the decisions that you make in your life have to be um, implemented with that mindset. You know what I mean? So you have to decide, hey, look, if I want to do this over here, does that line up with my mission? Does that line up with the purpose that I've laid out for myself? If it does not, then you don't do it. That's one of the reasons why it's so important for you to be focused well, for anybody, but definitely as a man. You want to be focused on your goals because it's going to help you align all of your thoughts, emotions, and decisions because you want to zero all of that in on that one specific goal. And anything that doesn't complement or cooperate with that goal, you have to let it go. You have to reassess it and more than likely discard it. And everyone and everything that aligns with your goal, your purpose, you bring them in. You know what I mean? You allow them to support you, to encourage you, to motivate you, to give you wisdom, to give you game. You know what I mean? My purpose is to be the best man I can be. So one of the ways that I go about doing that is I listen to brothers that I respect. One of them being Seaboog, if he's still in here. But Seaboog is one. So he's a brother that lines up with the purpose that I've set for myself. So I get a lot of gain from him. You know what I mean? I get a lot of gain from my brother Gabe at Ultimate Black Man Radio. You know what I mean? Those brothers represent um, the purpose that I've set for myself. So I keep them close. I listen to them. I take in what they say. You know what I mean? If they give advice to stay away from something, more than likely I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? And you do, and you need to do the same things for yourself. So chess, it teaches you how to move with a sense of purpose. Um, it also teaches you in life to always play to your advantage. Um, our enemies play chess, whether we like it or not. Chess is a very popular game. Like I said, over 600 million people play chess, which means that our enemies play chess as well. So when you play the game of chess, you always play for the advantage. You always, if you have the advantage, your goal is to try to maintain the advantage at all times. If you don't have it, your goal is to seize it or to get it. So you always want to play to the advantage. You always want to put yourself in the best position to win. Unfortunately for black people, the majority of white people have understood that in order for them to win, in order for them to keep their advantage, they have to keep black people at a certain level. They can't let you attain, they can't let us attain a certain level of power. So yes, they will allow us to make music and make a lot of money and sell a lot of records. But as far as the distribution, as far as having power and influence over major labels, these are things that have historically been taken away from us. You know what I mean? When you look at sports, there's only one black majority owner in all of sports in America. That's football, basketball, baseball, hockey, all of them. There's one majority owner, and that's Michael Jordan. So the advantage is, yes, I'll allow you to play. Yes, I'll allow you to, make money. But my advantage is the fact that my advantage, or their advantage is shown by their ability to own. They own it. They own the league. They own the teams. They own Nike. They own Reebok. They own Converse. They own these things. So we all look at, for those of us who watch sports, we all look at guys who make a lot of money. LeBron makes a lot of money. But if you think strategically and logically, you'll understand that, hey, look, if Nike can give him a lifetime contract, if the LA Lakers could pay him $30-40 million a year, how much is the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers making? If he can afford to pay somebody $40 million per season. Naima, good evening. Thank you for coming through. So, in chess, you always want to play to your advantage. If you have the advantage, you want to maintain it. You want to strengthen it. If you don't have it, you want to get it. You want to strategize. You want to use logic and reason and try to change the narrative, to try to go from a position of servitude to a position of power. So chess teaches you about that as well. So chess also teaches you how to learn and spot patterns. When you play people, it doesn't matter if you're playing someone, at a park, at home, or if you're playing online. Chess is a game of strategy. So you have to watch the board. You know what I mean? You have to watch strategies, because when you play chess, you want to think three, two, three, 4 moves ahead. You know what I mean? So when a person is setting you up on the chessboard, they're going to do certain things. They're going to show you certain signs of what they're trying to do, how they're trying to attack you. It's very mindful. You have to be very mindful of watching the board and learning patterns. You know what I mean? In life, there are often clear and defined lines of success that work well for the majority of people. So you need to learn how to see those and repeat them and take advantage of them. You know what I mean? For the majority of people, there's a distinct path to success. You know what I mean? Um, you listen to important people. You listen to people who can give you sound game and advice. You stay away from people you don't. You know what I mean? If you want to buy a house, for example, there's a clear path to that. You know what I mean? You need to have money or a stream of income coming in that's sufficient for you to be able to pay your mortgage, and you want to have good credit. You know what I mean? That's the clearest path to getting a house. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just make sure your credit is right. Make sure your money lines up so that you can afford the house that you're trying to get. So a lot of things in life don't need to be reinvented. All we have to do is just watch for the signs, watch for the patterns. There are certain things that all great people do. All masculine men do certain things. So for the young brothers out there who are watching this, or for any brother watching this, you know what I mean? There are telltale signs of brothers who are in their masculine energy. They are confident. You know what I mean? They are efficient. They are producers. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create something that's not there. Look for the pattern. Say, look, I want to do something. I see these 5 people or 6 people who've done what I'm trying to do. They've been where I'm trying to go. What are some things? What are some qualities that they have that are similar? What qualities do all of them have? And you focus on that. You know what I mean? On top of you, of course, you're going to add a little bit of yourself to it. You have to add your flavor to it to make it your own. But there are certain things that all prominent, powerful people do. And so you want to make sure that you have all of those tools on your belt. So always watch for the patterns. Always watch and see what works, what doesn't work. What doesn't work, and apply yourself the best way you know how. At the same time, chess teaches you not to get stuck on the formula. So there's not one way, even though there's certain signs that all successful people have. There's still not one way to be successful. So for a man, you can say, look, my goal is to be a millionaire. Okay, there's more than one way to become a millionaire. Now, all millionaires, for the most part, have similar qualities. They work hard. They when everyone else is chilling and partying and moving around, they're working. They're in the lab. They're in the studio. They're in the gym. They're in the boardroom. They're in a book. They're doing things that are conducive to success. But at the same time, there's more than one way. There's more than one way to be successful. You know what I mean? So there's not one formula. So you can find what you're passionate about and become a millionaire. You know what I mean? Um, my man Gabe, Ultimate Black Man Radio. He's really into electronics. He's into PCs. He actually just built his own computer, so he could be a millionaire doing that. You know what I mean? My man, excuse me, C-Book, Dom Game Division. He has his own lane. He's doing what he's doing. He could become a millionaire doing that. You know what I mean? We all don't have to do it the same way. You know what I'm saying? So there's not one formula for success. We could all get it um, in our own way, in our own right. Chess also teaches you to cut your losses. Sometimes you're going to lose things. You're going to lose people. You're going to lose material. So you want to try your best to minimize your losses and move on. You know what I mean? So as is life, everybody that came with you to this point can't go with you to the next point. So even though you want to minimize your losses, you want to keep them at a minimum, you don't want to overthink it. You don't want to hang on to things that you should let go. You want to move on. If you if you set a goal for yourself and you clearly see that there are people around you that don't match that don't fit that, then you need to cut your losses and move on. You know what I mean? And that's okay. If you're in a relationship that's not benefiting you, you need to cut your losses and move on. You're gonna hurt. You know what I mean? You'll hurt. You'll cry. You'll be emotional for a minute. You'll be frustrated. You'll be upset. But cut your losses and move on, and don't look back. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to help you get to where you want to be in life. So in the game of chess, it teaches you to cut your losses. If I lose a piece, I can't harp on that piece. If I lose a pawn, if I lose a knight, bishop, rook, if I lose my queen, um, I can't harp on that too much. I have to keep playing. I have to focus on the pieces that I have on the board and reevaluate those pieces and reassess my strategy on how to win. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what piece you can win, regardless of what piece you lose. You can lose pawns and still win the game. You can lose rooks. You can lose knights, bishops. You can lose your queen and still win the game. And still win the game. You know what I mean? So cut your losses. Move on. Because if you harp on pieces that you lost, it's going to um, it's going to play a prominent role and factor in you losing more pieces. So just let it go, and move on. When you play chess, you play the board. You don't play the player. So you play what you see. You strategize, um, and you play the board. You don't play the person. Okay. You don't target your responses to people. You target what they say. There's a difference. You don't necessarily check people. You check behavior. Nicole says that um, on her lives a lot when when people are over there acting up and they have to get blocked, we have to ban them. You know what I mean? She checks principles. She checks posture. She doesn't check people. So in your life, um, it's not necessarily the person that's your enemy. It's the principles that they uphold. It's the policies that they believe in. You know what I mean? It's what they say and what they do. You know, people that I've cut off in my life, it's not anything personal. You know what I mean? It's just that what you're saying and what you're doing doesn't line up with with how I'm moving. You know what I mean? So I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy, and I want you to attain the desires of your heart. But I don't want you around me. You know what I'm saying? I can't have you around me because having you around me is going to keep me from being able to do those things. So chess, you play the board, and you don't play the person. Um, so you target your responses to people. You target them based on what they say and do, not on necessarily who they are, because at certain times um, they can be different. Um, so in life, you want to be prepared to sacrifice material for position. Sometimes, on the chessboard, you have to sacrifice a piece to advance yourself. You have to sacrifice something that you own in order to put yourself in a better position to win. Um, which is true in life. Sometimes you have to sacrifice people, you have to sacrifice habits, you have to sacrifice things that you love and hold dear in order to advance yourself in life. You know what I mean? You could love drinking, you could love smoking, you could love partying. But in order for you to be the person that you want to be in life and be able to move and navigate in certain circles, sometimes you may have to let that go. You know what I mean? You may have to let certain people go. You may have to let certain women go. You know what I mean? You have to sacrifice certain relationships in order to advance yourself on the board. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? You you have to focus on your approach and how you do it, but but doing it is not wrong. Like I said, there we all have people in our lives that we keep at a certain distance. We love them. We'll do pretty much anything for them, but we have to keep them at bay. You know what I mean? We have to sacrifice our intimacy with that person in order to advance ourselves um, in the game of life. Um, so in the game of chess, a lot of times people, someone who's a novice, they'll focus on the pawns first. They'll try to get all the pawns. They'll try to get as many pieces as they can off the board. Um, that's not the goal of the game. The goal of the game is to capture the king. So whether you capture the king because he's the only piece on the board or because there's 10 pieces on the board, it doesn't matter. The game is over when the king is captured. So don't focus your life chasing lowly pawns. You know what I mean? Um, you're going to be on the receiving end of someone who will strategize around that. They'll say, look, this person's trying to get all my pawns, so I'll let them get that. And I'll move myself in a better position to take his king because that's the goal of the game. The goal of the game is not to get um, all of your opponent's pawns. It's to capture the king, like I said. So you don't want to spend your life focusing on lowly pawns, on lowly things, and on lowly people that really aren't going to benefit you at the end of the day. That ex that hurt you 5 years ago, that's a lowly pawn. You know what I mean? That has no effect on where you're trying to go in life. You know what I mean? That relationship is over. You learn from it, move on. Don't chase pawns. Don't chase people that aren't really important. Don't chase things that aren't really important. You chase what matters. Your goal on the chessboard is to go for that king. Your goal in life is to go for that, is to go for your goal, whatever it is, to be a business owner, to be a millionaire, to be a YouTube content creator with 1 million subs. Whatever your goal is, you focus on that. You don't focus on these small niggas out here that are irrelevant. Right now, I'm talking to my content creators out there specifically. You don't want to focus on other content creators that aren't going to help you build your brand and move you to the next level. You know what I mean? If they're talking slick and they put your name out there, obviously you check them and you check them assertively. But at the same time, you don't focus on these cats, man. You know what I'm saying? Because that's their goal. Any attention you give them, that's their strategy. They're playing chess too. Life is chess. So if they can get you out, if they can get you off your square and get you talking about them instead of putting out that A-level content, then they won. They're winning the game. So you don't focus on pawns, man. If they're not, if they can't help you get to where you're going, then don't even give them the time of day if you don't have to. Like I said, I'm not telling anybody to turn the other cheek. You know what I mean? I'm not President Obama. I'm not telling you to go high when they go low. I'm not telling you to do any of that. If somebody calls you out, they put your name out there, and they're slandering you and trying to violate your manhood or your womanhood, you check them. No doubt about that. But just also know at the same time that they're pawns, man, and you easily get them off the board. You don't worry about them because that's not your goal. That's not the objective of the game. You know what I mean? Um, always have a plan. When you play chess, you always have a plan. You have multiple plans. You know what I mean? You have a plan A, B, and C. Because when you play chess, your first plan might not work. You know what I mean? If you're playing against a good opponent, they're going to counter your plan. You know what I mean? Your first plan. So you have to have a plan A and a plan B. You know what I mean? Um, I'm a huge fan of Floyd Mayweather. You know, he's one of the greatest boxers I've ever seen. He's one of the greatest boxers of all time. Floyd Mayweather was not the biggest. He's not the biggest welterweight. He was never the biggest. He was never the strongest or the fastest guy. But Floyd Mayweather always had a plan. He always had multiple plans, and he outworked everybody that he was in the ring with. I saw an interview on YouTube with Vlad. Vlad was interviewing Zab Judah, and Zab said, "Look, you know, Floyd knows that I'm faster than him. You know what I mean? There are a lot of guys in boxing who understand boxing who know that my hands are faster than Floyd. But Floyd beat me because he outworked me. You know what I mean? Even when he said, even when when he and Floyd were friends, you know, years before that, and he would be in LA, Floyd would always call him and say, "Hey, let's go for a run." It'd be 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd say, "Hey man, let's go get 5 miles in. You know, let's go hit the bags, let's go work out, you know, whatever." And he would say, "Man, look, I'm not doing that, man. I'm trying to get these broads, man. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? I'm trying to play the tables, you know what I mean? I'm trying to go to the strip club, whatever. You know what I mean? I got my work in already." And so, you know, Floyd became great because he outworked everybody. Within a fight, within a round, everybody who fought Floyd, everybody who loves boxing will tell you that Floyd's greatest gift was his ability to change his strategy. You know what I mean? That goes on in all the sports. I don't care what it is, football, basketball, whatever. Most teams are going to adjust and they're going to play for your strength, for your plan A. The great teams, the great athletes who win are people who can adjust. Okay, I know that this person, I'm going to try plan A because that's my strong suit. That's what I do best. But I understand that if this person's a good fighter or if I'm playing a good team, they're going to counter my plan A. They're going to strategize and plan for what I do best. So I have to counter. I have to be able to make adjustments. And so that's what happens in the game of chess. You have to be able to adjust. Most of the time, your opponent, if they're good, they're going to spot your first plan. They're going to see what you're trying to do, and they're going to counter that. So you want to have a plan B, C, and D. You know what I mean? As is life, things happen in life. You know what I mean? You're not going to always get to where you want to go when you want to get there. But in case one door closes on you, in case one door is slammed in your face, have a plan B, C, and D to open up another door, to go to another door, or to go to another house. You know what I mean? If necessary. So always strategize, always have multiple plans, um, always be able to adjust. My man, Coach Ali's Corners in here. Good evening, bro. Thanks for coming out. This brother right here, like we talked about last night on our live, this brother played football at Central Michigan. You know what I mean? He played football with Antonio Brown. He and Antonio Brown were on the same team. So he understands that clearly. When you're playing football, you know, if you're a power running team, your opponent is going to stack the box. You know what I mean? That's what they're going to do. Stacking the box means they're going to put multiple players um, in the box to try to stop your running game because they know that's what you do best. So how do you counter that? You know, you play action. You know what I mean? You audible at the line of scrimmage. You do things to take what they're trying to do and put them at a disadvantage. So um, as is the game of chess and as is in life, you always want to have multiple plans. Um, so so let me see. If you feel in chess, you know, if you feel boxed in, um, hey Nicole, how you doing? Shout out to Nicole in the beauty movement. Thanks for coming through, for pulling up. So when you play the game of chess, um, you if you feel boxed in, because sometimes you know your prominent and more powerful pieces um, can have you boxed in. So you want to free things up on the board. You want to move things around strategically in order to free up yourself, in order to be able to get back on the attack, to get back on the offensive. as is in life. If you're feeling boxed in a situation, in a relationship, you want to free yourself up. It's okay to get rid of people, man. It is okay to get rid of people sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're being mean or disrespectful. It means that your responsibility is to you. We only have one life that we can verify. Everything else is a belief. A belief is not a fact. You know what I'm saying? We have one life that we know about. So you want to live that life as free as possible. You don't want to be pinned down by situations and people that don't benefit you. You know what I mean? So if you're feeling pinned down, you need to free yourself up. Get rid of certain vices. Get rid of certain people. Get rid of certain things that make you feel boxed in, that don't allow you to go out here and to achieve your goals. You know what I mean? Um, Whatever those goals may be, whatever they are. In chess, and I have a few more in there, and then I'm gonna wrap it up for y'all. But in chess, you when it's possible, you always want to trade inferior pieces or material for better ones, and put the better ones in a better position. So, like I said about the pawns, we talked about the pawns on the chessboard symbolizing the serfs. They symbolize the laborers. They symbolize the common people, the people who are on the front lines, the people who do the majority of the work. So on the chessboard, if you can advance your pawn all the way to your opponent's last line of defense, then you can trade that pawn in for a bigger and better piece. Okay, you can trade it in for anything, the queen, a knight, a bishop. So you can have two queens on the board. If you get one pawn all the way down to the end, you can trade in that pawn for a bigger and better piece. So always look for a bigger and better. Always, look to take some of the material that you have and trade them in for bigger and better pieces. If you're a content creator, the more you progress and move up as far as subs and people supporting you financially, you want to trade in your material for better material. You know what I mean? You want to trade in your content for better content. You know what I mean? I can't talk about the same things. Right now I'm almost at 300 subs. I'm happy for that. I count it all joy. I don't take anything for granted. I'm almost at 300 subs. But let me tell you this: the way I'm going to talk at 30,000 subs is not the way I'm going to talk at 300 subs. When you elevate in life, you have to change in old material for new material. You have to change in old things for new things. You know what I mean? If I'm at 40, 50,000 subs and people are donating to me and supporting my channel, you're not going to see this same format. You're going to see something bigger and better. You're going to see a better interface. You're going to see, certain things are going to improve. You know what I mean? My man Gabe, Ultimate Black Man Radio. You know what I mean? He's literally right now, he just finished building his own computer. A lot of that is because we grew at Ultimate Black Man Radio. Started from zero, like everybody on YouTube. Now we're almost at 1,000. We're almost at 1,000 subs. You know what I mean? And that's only to you guys' love and support. But because things have changed, because we're almost at 1K, Gabe has taken it upon himself because he has a chess mindset. He's saying, look, I'm going to up this thing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to come at people with the same interface, with the same visual display that we did at 200 subs. We're at 1K now. You know what I mean? So I'm going to change. I'm going to build a computer. I'm going to add certain things. I'm going to put an intro, outro to it. You know what I mean? I'm going to add certain things to it to enhance the experience because I've grown. You know what I'm saying? So when you grow, your everything around you is supposed to grow. Your content is supposed to grow. You know what I mean? Your visual presentation is supposed to grow. Nicole Michelle is in the building. Nicole is moving at a rapid pace. She's at 30K subs and counting. Her material, her interface is not the same as it was when she was at 30 subs. You get to a certain point in life where you say, look, I'm at a different place. A lot of times rappers, when they, like, for example, in music, when someone like Jay-Z does an album, people will, like they'll look at it and they'll say, well, that wasn't reasonable doubt, or reasonable doubt was better, or, the blueprint was better. Well, because, or they'll say, well, now he's not really talking about Marcy projects. He's not talking about, he's not as grimy and as in your face and as raw as he was on reasonable doubt or on the blueprint. That's because he's in a different place. You know what I mean? You can't be grimy and talk gangster when you're a billionaire. You know what I mean? He doesn't live in Marcy projects anymore. So his message, his lyrical content, represents his growth and development. It represents where he is in his life. As I am. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not on the block anymore. So I don't move like I'm on the block. I don't talk like I'm on the block. I'm in a different place. You know what I mean? I'm a husband. I'm a father. So that consumes the majority of my energy. That is found heavily in my life, in my content, as a content creator. You know what I mean? So you always want to trade in the old for the new. You want to, once you get to a certain point, you want to take something that you have and trade it in for something better. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not necessarily talking about people, but in a way I am talking about people, because if you have someone that could put you in a better position, then you make that connection. You know what I mean? And if the person that you're with, if they don't understand that, then that's on them. Because in life, especially in business, certain people can only take you so far. You know what I mean? So when you get to a certain point, it's okay for you to say, okay, look, this person has taken me as far as they can take me. I'm going to go to the next level. I have to get some new management. I have to bring some new content to the table, because I'm in a different place in my life. I'm in a different space mentally. So I have to reflect that. I have to reflect that. So I'm gonna do a few more, like I said, and then I'm out. The next one is, when you playing chess, you want to ignore meaningless threats. Okay, when you play chess, people are going to threaten you with certain pieces on the board. They're going to try to bait you. They're going to try to bait you into making a stupid move. They're going to try to bait you into you falling into a trap. Okay, and again, I'm going to talk to my content creators specifically here. You ignore meaningless threats. You know what I mean? You anticipate and deal with dangerous threats swiftly, but you ignore meaningless threats. So you ignore cats who try to bait you into getting into a debate with them. You avoid meaningless cats on YouTube who will try to bait you into a beef, who comes on your channel, listens to your content, and then will create an entire catalog of content on their channel based off your content. You know what I mean? When people come out there and when someone comes out on YouTube or their platform, whatever it is, and they throw meaningless shots, you let that go. You brush that off. You ignore that. You know what I'm saying? Because any energy you give them is a win for them. You don't have time for it. There are a lot of people who try to come at my sister. You know what I mean? But she don't have time for that. She's at 30K. You know what I mean? Her goal is 60K. Her goal is 300K. That's the goal. You know what I mean? Anybody throwing meaningless threats or pointless shots, you're irrelevant. I'm just going to tell you, because I'm in the know, I'm in the loop, I'm on the team. You're not even really going to be addressed for what? You know what I'm saying? She has no time or energy. We have no time or energy to address you, because you're not really important, and you're not a threat. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's a threat, the most threatening thing on YouTube is your content. If you have dope content, you are a threat on YouTube. Period. You know what I mean? If you put out intellectual content, fly content, you're a threat. Your meaningless threats are just that. I don't have time for it. See, Boog don't have time for it. Gabe don't have time for it. We don't have time for that, man. You're not gonna bait us into nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because the goal is, like I said earlier, is to take your attention off of you being fly, off you being dope in your own right, and giving them attention. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's going to give them energy, because now they feel like, okay, I've initiated a beef, so now Their juices are flowing. They have content. You've given them, if you engage, meaningless cats on YouTube, you've given them content for at least a week or two, just talking about you, what you said, what you did, why you're fake, why people shouldn't watch you, whatever. Throwing, putting lies out there. I ran up on him and he didn't do nothing, or I approached her, was like, yo, what's up? And she ducked out, whatever. You've given them content for 2 weeks for a whole pay period. You know what I mean? Just because you engaged them, just because you gave them the time of day. You know what I mean? So you want to avoid them, man. You know what I mean? If it's a real threat, if it's something serious, you know what I mean? If if they're purposely putting your name out there, they're trying to violate you, your family, like, your real life outside of these YouTube streets, then that's a problem. You deal with it swiftly, you know what I mean, and aggressively. But outside of that, nah, let it go. You know what I mean? It's not even worth that. Um, at the end of the day, um, you want to let me see. Let me see how I want to say it. So you want to be. There's a certain plan, in life that all great people follow. You know what I mean? There are certain levels to success. There are certain qualities and characteristics that all great people, all powerful people have. But you want to also have the ability to surprise and impress people with unconventional moves. So at the same time, you want to be able to think out of the box as well. Be different. It's okay to be different. You know what I mean? There's nobody on YouTube like C-Book. You know what I mean? Not from what I've seen. There's nobody on YouTube like Gabe. There's nobody who could break down certain things like Gabe. There's absolutely nobody on the femininity side of things that are like Nicole. You know what I mean? We all have certain qualities about us. You know what I mean? But be be um be different. You know what I mean? That's impressive. That's surprising. You know what I mean? For you to use unconventional moves. Excuse me. Um, Creativity has a purpose, man. It has a place. Be creative. Do something wild. Do something crazy just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? Um, be edgy. Be different, man. You know what I mean? Don't do everything that you see. And if you do what you see, because obviously in YouTube, you know what I mean, we all, for the most part, we talk about the same topics. You know what I mean? If something comes out, if Doja Cat comes out, she's talking slick, you're gonna have 50 content creators talking about Doja Cat, or talking about Trina, or talking about the brother George Floyd or whatever. We're all going to talk about the same things, but you talk about it in an unconventional way. You find your steez in it. You find your flavor within that one topic, and you bring it to the people in a way that no one else can get. You know what I mean? They can't get it anywhere else. That's how you do it. That's how you become successful. We all go to, a lot of us go to college. There are millions of people who go to college. There are millions of people who start their own businesses. But be unique, be unconventional. Give people something that they need in a way that they've never seen it before. Amazon is on path to become a $1 trillion business because they're unconventional. There were plenty of companies before Amazon that will bring stuff to your doorstep, that will deliver it to you, but nobody does it like Amazon does it. Nobody does it to the extent and to the quality that Amazon does it. And that's why they're going to be the first $1 trillion company out here. That's why even in a pandemic, you know what I'm saying, they're profiting more than anybody in a pandemic because they understand, look, people are going to spend money regardless. I don't care if you're stuck in the house. People want to spend money. People, things bring people joy. So I'm gonna get it to you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get it to you how you want it, and they understand that. Rain, sleet, snow, pandemic, no pandemic. Amazon is gonna move. You know what I mean? Amazon is not gonna stop. Taxi book. Success is the best revenge. You know what I mean? Success is sweet, man. It's sweet because you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish. You've walked that glory road and you've gotten to where you want to get to in life, and that within itself um, brings you joy. But it also brings you joy because your haters get to see it. Your haters get to watch you be successful. They get to watch you have conventions where you bringing brothers together and y'all are chopping it up about being masculine and about the dom game. You know what I mean? And how to dominate every aspect of your life. They get to see that live and direct. You know what I mean? And they'll hate on it, they'll critique it, but they know they can't do it. You know what I mean? If they try to put it together, everybody that comes is going to be a relative. You know what I'm saying? Like, their uncle or cousin or something, and they only going to come because you owe them because they owe you a favor. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't do what Boog does. So when you do it and you do it at a high level, man, and your haters get to see it, that's the best revenge, man. That's the best victory right there. That's a victory within itself. Just being successful. You know what I mean? But always be unconventional. Think out of the box in every aspect of your life. You know what I mean? Don't be like everybody else. If all these chicks are wearing, half their hair shaved and half long, you don't have to do that, man. Be unconventional. Be different. You know what I mean? Stand out, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can take foundational principles and add your own flavor to it. You know what I mean? Um, that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you stand out. And that's what makes people impressed by you being different. Um, let me see. Let me see. I want to do this. All right, my last one. I'm gonna get up out of here. So the last one is when you're on the chessboard, when you're playing chess, you want to connect your pieces cleverly. All right. You want to link your pieces up in a way that will allow you to attack your opponent and win. Okay. You want to collaborate. Your pieces collaborate and cooperate with each other. And the better you can do that on the board, the more successful you can be. When you checkmate on the chessboard, you do that by putting your pieces together cleverly and collectively. You know what I mean? You give your opponent's king no option to retreat. Whether they back up, whether they go forward, whether they move to the side, whether they move in a diagonal direction, it doesn't matter. Checkmate means that you you checkmate your opponent because you put your opponent's king in a position that regardless of where he moves, he's going to be taken by one of your pieces. You have multiple pieces coming together: a pawn, a rook, a knight, a bishop, a queen, whatever. You've strategically put them on the board and surrounded their king so much so that he, regardless of how he moves on the board, he can't escape being captured. Okay, you want to do that in your own personal life, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal circle and with your friends. Um, you know what I mean. On YouTube, you want to align pieces properly, man. You want to collaborate with and cooperate with the right people. You know what I mean? Um, I like to call. I kind of created it myself, but I created like a loose collective, man, called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You know what I mean? Um, I'm very close with Gabe and Nicole. You know what I mean? Um, there's a certain type of collection there, of cooperation there, of complimenting there. You know what I mean? I look at Gabe and I say, yo, and I look at Bug, and I say, look, these brothers are dope. You know what I mean? They put out great content. They do it in a way that's unique to them. You know what I mean? Baltimore Bug does it how he does it. My man Gabe out in Memphis does it the way he does it. It's great. It's natural to them. It's true to who they are. So even though I like what they do and I like the way they do it, um, I have my own unique talents and gifts. So I'm going to come at things in a way to um, show love and respect to those brothers, but I'm going to compliment what they do as well because I like the mission. I like what they put. I like the energy and the message they put out. So I compliment it by my content. You know what I mean? So I may tackle something. So like, um, Boog is not married. You know what I mean? Gabe is not married. So a lot of my contribution to um, a collective is being able to say, hey, I'm a young black man, I'm married. So I'm going to talk about that. And yes, even though C Boog is not married, some of the principles that he talks about on his channel, with the dom game, you can apply that to in a marriage. It don't stop. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. You know what I mean? Some of the things that Gabe talks about on his own. You know what I mean? Um, I can use that in my own life and be able to take it, package it, and put it back out there to the world in a way that's natural to me. You know what I mean? Where it's not biting content. It's saying, look, I'm gonna take the lessons that I've learned from certain people. I'm gonna apply it. I'm gonna say, okay, look, based on what I took, based on how I applied it, this is what happened, and then I'm just giving the results back to the people. That's what these lives are about. That's what my lives are about. Well, you gonna get there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Facts. Um, that's what my lives are about. My lives at the end of the day are about, look, me learning from people that I respect. You know what I mean? Me learning from my family members, man. Certain content creators on YouTube, co-workers, man, elders, that have held me down for a long time. That's what these lives are about for me. They've given me game. They've given me wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and I've applied it. I took it in. You know what I mean? That's the knowledge. I took it in and I learned what they said. That's the knowledge piece. I applied it after I took it in. After I learned it, I applied it. You know what I mean? That's the wisdom. I applied it to my life. I took some Dom game principles. I took some things Gabe talked about. I took some things that my brother Hassani Ali talks about. I took some things that my brother Cade Coaching talked about. You know what I mean, on our live last night. I take some things that Tony Maceo talks about on power and strategy. You know what I mean? And I listen to it and I learn it and then I apply it. Like I said, that's the wisdom. And then the understanding is me giving it to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Me giving it to people because it was given to me. So that's what the content is about. My experiences, man. Me learning, me growing, me evolving, me taking L's, bouncing back. You know what I mean? Me winning. You know, fatalities. I mean, fatalities. Flawless victories, all that, man. It's a part of life. You're gonna take L's. You're gonna win. You're gonna struggle to get a win. Sometimes you're gonna dominate from start to finish. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be. It'll be easy work. But our responsibility as men, man, as masculine men, is to take what we've learned, apply it to our own life, and then give it back to the people. You know what I mean? And help other people because somebody helped me and help them and tell them the truth. You don't gain anything by lying to these cats, man. You know what I'm saying? If you're a nigga out here and you lying in front like you got all these chicks and you don't have them, you're not helping anybody. You're not helping yourself. You know what I mean? You only helping yourself to get exposed because somebody gonna expose you. People already expose you. People, unbeknownst to you, people are already talking about how much of a fraud you are and have receipts. You just, should be, thankful that cats really have put you out there yet. Because your enemies have the information. The people some of y'all content creators, some of the people that y'all talk slick about, you know what I mean? The bugs, the Gabes and the Coles, whoever you talking slick about, whoever you trying to get content off of, a lot of times, man, you'd be surprised at the information they have on you, man. They trying to save you from yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because people talk, man. People put your dirty laundry out there, man. Because a lot of people that you're confiding in, you know what I mean, with your fraudulent channels, some of the people you're confiding in, they don't like you either. They're just using you to come up. So they'll out you, they'll pass information along, and at the right time, somebody gonna expose you, and you're gonna look bad for nothing. You know what I mean? Be honest, man. Be true to yourself. If you don't have multiple women like that, be true to yourself. It's okay, man. It's okay to have one woman. It's okay to have no women. You know what I mean? If you can't find one that's right for you, it's okay to not have none. You know what I mean? Work on being a better cat, man. Work on being a better masculine man and vetting and finding the right female for you. You know what I mean? So you want to always have a strong, um, team around you, man. That's going to help you put things in order. That's going to help you checkmate certain situations in your life. You know what I mean? If you want to go into a certain type of business, align yourself with people who are already in that business. Align yourself with the people who support people who are already in that business. I mean, if you want to open up your own restaurant, talk to cats who own their own restaurant. Talk to people who distribute to those restaurants. Have people, have contacts at the bank that give loans to people who own bars and restaurants. Form a strong collection, man. Form a strong team. If you're on YouTube, if you're a content creator, if you're young, up and coming like myself, it behooves you to get some game from people who've been in this game for a while, because they'll steer you away from certain situations, man. You come in YouTube, like when I first started, in Facebook and social media and stuff, I had no idea about trolls, man. Like Gabe really had to pull me to the side and say, "Yo, let these cats slide," because some cats was trolling, and I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna go see him." You know what I'm saying? Like but he ain't too far. You know what I'm saying? Like I will literally pull up on a cat, like no cap. You know what I mean? Because I thought, because that's the era I'm from. You know what I mean? If somebody say something slick to you or about you, it's pull up time. Where you want me to meet you at? You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand these social media beefs and internet beefs, and you know what I mean? And you talking slick, from your computer 5 states away and all that. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand people being slick and disrespectful on YouTube. So when some people would do it, I talk to Gabe about it. He'd be like, "Nah, man, give him a pass. He just trolling." You know, some cats do that. And I was like, "Oh, okay," because I'm thinking like, yo, I'm thinking he's serious, so it's gonna be a problem. Like I'm gonna approach money. You know what I mean? But he was like, "Nah, man, that's just, it comes with it, man. You're gonna have trolls out here." You know what I mean? So to wrap it up, man, make sure you have a strong team around you, man. Um, you know what I mean? I want to thank y'all for coming out, man, checking me out. Um, Chess, man, play it. You know what I mean? It's a great game. Over 600 million people around the world play chess. It's the most popular sport, on the planet. Get you a board, play it. Play online. You know what I mean? There's plenty of um, chess apps online. I mean, on your phone or whatever, for free. Play it, man. It's a great game. It represents power, man. It represents strategy. It represents winning, having a winning mindset, man. Being focused, understanding the board, understanding the pieces, being able to understand and know how to use pieces, man. You know what I mean? You can't treat a pawn like a bishop. You know what I mean? You can't expect a knight to move like a queen. It's not a queen. So understand all the pieces on the board, man. Understand all the pieces around you on your team, and realize and strategize on how to put them in the best position to help you get to where you want to go. You know what I mean? Ladies, if you're in a relationship with a guy, you know what I mean? If he's a pawn, you can't treat him like a king, man. Stop treating these pawn niggas like kings. You know what I mean? It's gonna get you in trouble. That's not nice. You know what I mean? You going it's gonna set you back, man. You don't want to be looking back, years later and realizing, look, man, I had a pawn and I treated him like a king. I protected him. I moved all over the board for him. You know what I mean? And he was a pawn. You know what I mean? You move around for a king. You know what I mean? Queens are designed for kings. If you're a queen like you say you are, then you need to be looking for a king, not a pawn. And there's a difference in how they move. That's why chess is so important, man. You can see who a person is by how they move. You know what pieces are on the board by how it moves, by what it looks like. You know what I mean? Um, so be mindful of that, man. It's a great game. It's a beautiful game. I love it. You can learn a lot from it, man. So I just want to thank y'all for coming through, checking me out. View from the Man Cave. Um, I'm on multiple platforms. I'm on Facebook, obviously, as you know. I have my page on Facebook as well, and and my um, and my View from the Man Cave, excuse me, page as well on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, look me up. Follow me. I do the same. You know what I mean? View from the Man Cave on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter as well. My Twitter handle is View from Man Cave on Twitter. So if you like the content, man, if you get some game over here, if you get some info, some wisdom, like us and subscribe to the channel. Like and subscribe to the channel. Excuse me. You can share it, man. It's all good, man. I have a lot of people hit me up say, Frank, man, I love what you're doing over here, man. I'm sharing your stuff. I subbed, I share it, whatever. I seen brothers, man. Shout out to the homie Bobby, man, Bobby Drake. Um, from time to time, he'll share my stuff and put it in different groups that we're in. You know what I mean? In private groups on Facebook, man. So if you want to do that, if you're led to do that, that's all good, man. I'm grateful, and I'm thankful for all the love and support. Um, if you want to support the channel financially, you could do that as well. I'm on Cash App, $ FJR81, on Cash App, and on PayPal as well. PayPal.me/ViewFromManCave. Um, as of right now, I have one live schedule for next week. I'm going to bring my sister on. Um, she's a dope sister, very smart, very passionate, feminine sister. She's an author as well. We're going to talk about her book. She wrote a book, and we're going to talk about her book on Tuesday. And we're going to talk about an experience that we had earlier this year. We both went to go see the legend, man, the warrior, um, the queen herself, Sister Shahrazad Ali. She came to a vegan spot called Everlasting Life, which is about maybe 10 or 15 minutes from my home in PG County, Maryland. So we saw her. Um, she did a lecture there, and she just blew us away, man. She had her books there. I bought all her stuff. She was dropping gems, man, like she usually does. If you don't know about Shahrazad Ali, check her out. Look her up on YouTube. She don't play around. You know what I mean? She's one of the few sisters out here, um, you know, like Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, like my sister Nicole Michelle as well. Um, Shahrazad Ali is not a stranger to holding women accountable. She gets on brothers too, rightfully so, but she understands that women have played a role in where we are as Black people as well, and women need to level up and do the right things as well. And all of her majority of her content and material is centered around that. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about breaking generational curses, man. You know what I mean? Shantina, my sister's been through a lot. You know what I mean? And she's going to talk about that. Some of those things more than likely motivated her to write her book. So we're going to break that down. Like I said, we're going to talk about her book. We're going to talk about our experience seeing Sister Ali live, in her lecture, and we're going to talk about breaking generational curses as well. So um, Shantina also has a channel on YouTube. It's called The House of L, and so you can go over there, check her out. Like and subscribe to her as well. I mean, she has some good information. She's very transparent and honest about her experiences. So um, that's all I have for y'all, man. I love y'all. I want to thank y'all for coming through, supporting. Um, I don't care. I wouldn't care, man, if you know I'm not a big headed person. You know what I mean? I, I'm very happy that you guys come through, man, and support the channel. You know what I mean? I know big things are coming, but I'm very appreciative for all the love and support that I've gotten so far. You know what I mean? So I want y'all to know that. I want to say thank you to y'all. I love y'all. So y'all be good, man. Y'all be safe. Come back, check me out Tuesday next week with Shantina. We're gonna get it popping, man. Till next time. Peace.